It's rivalry week. Welcome back to We Live for Saturdays, week 14. Joined here with Maku and Chris. How are we doing
Hello,
tonight,
boys.
boys?
Hey guys, it's not only rivalry week, but it's also Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
It's not only Thanksgiving week, it's also week 14. Dare I say the wildest weekend of them all.
I know, I'm going to destroy some pie.
Well, and we have a lot of things up in the air in terms of college football this weekend. Everyone knows about the Big 12, but there's still a lot in other conferences that are up to decision. And we were just saying before the podcast that there's going to be some mayhem going on. So we're looking forward to it.
Yep.
I think there was a little bit of mayhem last week as well, don't you think?
I'd say so. Yeah, there were some games. Some games maybe like not too surprising.
According to plan, and every other game is just chaos.
And I think it starts at the top at what happened in Norman on Saturday night. 24-3 loss.
They were dominated.
I don't remember a game Alabama has lost like that ever.
I was looking it up, or I think I saw on the ESPN bottom line, they're like, this is Alabama's first loss without scoring a touchdown since like that famous 9-6 game that they called like the game of the century in 2011 with LSU. And I'm like, I can't believe it's been that long since they haven't scored a touchdown, let alone, had a bad loss like this. At least that was like a very close game with a very good rival and opponent. But this was just probably the worst game I've ever seen a college quarterback play that's like in a top 10 matchup kind of thing.
Right. And it's funny because when we were talking about the game, we were like, yeah, Oklahoma's not going to put up points. I can see it being low scoring, maybe 24-3 Alabama.
We were right. We were right.
The other way around.
Yeah.
Did any of us nail that score exactly?
We said something like that, but I don't know.
It's funny how easy it would be to just watch our own episodes and we're like, nah, we'll figure it out.
These guys are idiots.
But no, I very much was like, there's no chance Bama drops this one. Oklahoma's 5-5. Oklahoma has Venables on the hot seat. They have nothing to play for. Roll them up and spit them out. And Bama just absolutely got steamed.
The other way around, yeah.
Exactly. But shout out the Sooners. Good for them.
Mm-hmm. Shout out the Sooners. And throwing up little Bud Davis on Twitter.
Is back.
Oklahoma's defense is legit. I think he makes a good point here where they're the top 4 Power 5 defense right now. And he makes a good point where it's just like, if you're not a perfect team, but if you're that good on one side of the ball, you can beat anybody in a given weekend, especially in college football. And that's what happened.
Well, who would have thought that would be their undoing this season, was having a good defense.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
Venables there, he's a defensive guy, but I mean, he has to start. He's got to put some love into the other side of the ball soon.
Exactly. Right. I mean, they have the 5-star QB Jackson Arnold, who I obviously balled out for Saturday's game, but I don't know. We'll see if he's the future or not, because they already benched him once or twice this year. He just showed up when it mattered most.
And completely random, but I played former Oklahoma quarterback General Booty at UL Monroe in NCAA yesterday. So
hey, there you go.
How was he? He's living life. He kind of balled out. A little RPO option, yeah.
You mean
I like how you played him in a video game and he's living life.
I was going to say we were talking about the video game Booty.
Yeah.
Good kid, though. Good kid. Good personality. Very much go.
He filled up that leadership bar. He filled up that leadership bar. Got the 1.05 multiplier.
Oh. And I think the other big shocker was what happened down in Gainesville.
Disgusting.
Quite a shock. I don't know. I just felt bad for Jackson Dart at the end. In many ways, just like. You can tell he was forcing it. He was throwing throws we would throw in the video game, like triple coverage 5 times in a row, and it was just brutal to him to get it. Like be demoralized, throw a pick, get his hopes up, call him back, and then he throws one immediately right after. That happened like 3 times at the end.
You
So
would think it'd be kind of a lesson learned, like, hey, don't do that again. But he just went out and he was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go for it.
he's like, you know what I just did? It'll make it worse.
Well,
As a
another
very
crazy.
biased fan who holds grudges, I do not feel bad for Jackson Dart because he was slam dunking on their little sideline basketball hoop when they were destroying Penn State in the Peach Bowl last year.
Oh yeah,
I saw Florida stole it at the end of the game for them last week, so pretty good.
Well, and another thing, they had 4 rushes from a running back. I mean, how JJ, what's his name? JJ Peegs.
Tate was
oh yeah.
Yeah, they had, the defensive lineman had 5.
6, and he had one
6.
for like an absolute first down tote.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in on that, but yeah.
Oh, if you're throwing a 350-pounder to the ball, I'm very happy about it.
If you have a running back named Ulysses Bentley the fourth, you give him the ball.
That's true.
I don't even. Yeah, that's horrible play calling, I think. But also, I think their actual running backs. I think Ulysses may not have been playing or something like that. I don't remember seeing him on the stat sheet. But still, I mean, I will go out and tell everybody right now. I bet Ole Miss and Alabama and like 6 other teams in a parlay, and the 2 biggest favorites were the ones to totally drop the ball for me. So
that's how it is.
That's how it always goes. You get all the minus 110s and you lose the minus 650s.
Well, yeah. And for those listening in, Sam's sharing his screen for the lovely Bud Davis graphic at the top right. I want to talk about the 2 teams at the top right, Ohio State and Notre Dame. How are y'all? What do y'all think about them? I mean, they're looking good.
Well, I hate one of them, and I respect one of them. Guess which 2?
I think the Indiana game went how most people thought it would go in terms of just the result. And then I think the same thing could be said for the Army Notre Dame game. So very strong weeks. I am looking forward to the game, Michigan, Ohio State this weekend. Michigan's coming off a massive blowout against Northwestern. That's not saying a ton, but they're getting some momentum on the offensive side of the ball.
It's the best they've looked all season, I think.
Exactly. So they have Michigan. Notre Dame has USC. They got some challenges this week, so should be fun.
Sorry, you go, Chris.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, to your point about Michigan sort of maybe rounding into form a little bit, what are they? What is it, 24 point? Well, I don't want to jump ahead, but, if Ohio State dominates, that will be, maybe that Ohio State, they start having something click. They could be rounding into form at the right time of the year. And then Notre Dame, appreciate the question from Mountain Jim. Appreciate that feedback on and questions on our Spotify. Everyone keep the questions coming. Mountain Jim was asking last week about the prospect of a playoff if Army pulled the upset. Obviously, they'd be sitting pretty, but with that, that's not the case here. And I think I have a little bit of a hot take on Army for once we get to this coming week's game. But yeah, 2 really good teams there.
And when we preview this coming weeks, when we're talking about some of the rivalry games, Mountain Jim threw us another question, so we'll cover that.
All right.
Teaser, it has to do with Mac Brown's recent firing, so a little bit more of a pressing issue there.
Listen, Notre Dame is the most impressive team. I think I brought it up last week that if they didn't drop it to NIU, even if they won by like a point or 3 points, they're easily in the top 3 of the country. Everybody's screaming their praises. They're right up there.
They're blowing everyone out.
Ohio State. And since they had that one bad early season loss, literally on the last second field goal, everybody's like, "Oh well, they lost to that team, so I can't really trust them at all." But I
wouldn't want to play them right now.
Yeah, remember when people like a month ago talking Army Navy, like both in the playoff? They're going to play the Army Navy game and then match up in the postseason. It's like, yes, that is very cool, like in philosophy, but Notre Dame just showed both of their kind of true colors, and unfortunately, I think they owe a written signed apology to the armed forces. That was pretty rude and disrespectful for them.
Yeah, the Irish are not for the forces, so it's
so, yeah. They're still all about Ireland and zero about America.
Well, look, last thing I'll call out on the screen here is Rock Chalk, Chris. Fourth best Power 5 offense. Looking at the screen here, you can see the trajectory of Florida there in the middle of the screen. If you're comparing those two schools, their second half of their seasons, they're both pretty impressive. But what do we think? Which one do we think is more impressive?
Well, I mean, what do you think? Well, first of all, wait, there we go. I mean, I called it last week. They're clicking. Right now they are the best team in the Big 12. They may have
the nation.
Yeah, they may have a few hitmen going after Sanders' knees on their team, but they are clicking. It's a shame they dug themselves a hole. They're the best team in the conference right now. I know. Shout out to Brian. I know he wanted for us to spend an episode talking through the 250 possible combinations of the 9 teams that are going to be in the Big 12 Conference Championship. We just don't have time for that.
Brian, number 1. Here we go.
Number 1, Kansas.
And number 147. Here we go.
So maybe another time. But I mean, they're fun. They're fun, and like you said, can both of these teams make a bowl? Because if so, I don't want to play them.
Florida is, I think they're 5-5 or 6-5 or 5-6, something around there. So they could make a bowl.
They're hot.
And then I think it's pretty similar for Kansas, maybe like one win better.
Yep.
100%.
So
no, I couldn't agree more. I think they're both. But both of those teams too, like I think we kept talking about. They had the weird losing streaks, but they were all kind of close. I will admit, I had given up on Florida pretty early in the season.
Everyone did.
They got destroyed by Miami to start. They got destroyed by A&M. But then honestly, they played every team pretty close. They even had the Georgia game, which was respectable. So
right,
I was repping. I didn't even know.
Yeah, Florida is already bowl eligible, and Kansas is 5-6. They just need to beat Baylor this weekend, which is honestly a pretty good matchup for them, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Close to a pick'em.
Yeah, but no, Kansas has a. You could write a book about Kansas's 2024 schedule because every game they played in that they lost was very close, and every game that they won, they were clearly the better team. So it's
right.
It's very.
We could be like 12-0.
Who's we?
Easy use of we. Speaking of we, how about Penn State sneaking by Minnesota?
I
knew it was going to be a stress, and
they always play it close, and it bothers me. Do you think Minnesota, or like we are Minnesota's Ohio State? Like the way we look at Ohio State, we're always going to give them a battle, and we're probably never going to win. But do you think like that's how Minnesota views us? Because they always take us down to the wire.
I could see that being us or Wisconsin. Like I don't know what they're like. If they play them every year or whatever, like who do they play in these like last week every year? Do we know?
They are playing Wisconsin. You know your ball.
Yeah, they're a big rivalry.
So, that's the longest standing D1 rivalry. Like 140 games or something. So yeah, there it is.
Who did they play? They literally have played each other since the Civil War.
Last 700 years. No, I was honestly impressed with Minnesota. Credit to them. They played a darn good game. I think they just naturally match up. I don't know what it is. Like they could be 3-9 and we could be 11-0, and they just know how to match up to us. So, I mean, I don't know if it's coaching so much. I think a lot of people forgot about PJ Fleck after the whole row the boat hype of 2017 so long ago. But I mean, they have a good program, and they're kind of similar to a Kansas, not quite on the same level, of course, but all their wins are pretty close, and all their losses are like, hey, if one thing went through it, they lost to Michigan at Michigan by 3. They lost to North Carolina, who we'll get to them later, by 2. Lost by 1, obviously, Rutgers by 7. But yeah, I would have been pissed if they beat Rutgers or just lost to Rutgers the week before and then beat us. So I honestly give some credit to James Franklin, where we haven't really given him a shout out all year long.
That fake punt. Whew.
And they're
What a
going
call.
forward on fourth in the red zone too, just to put the nail in the coffin. Like past years, he would have
Kicked it.
played safe and played not to win type deal. So,
And now, truth be told, if we fail on that fourth down
Oh.
and give them the ball, we're calling for him to be fired, right? But hey,
100%.
when the ball goes your way, you got to give credit where it's due.
That
Absolutely.
was the gutsiest because they were in field goal range, weren't they? Or maybe they were. Yeah, they were in field goal range.
Oh yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
could have hit my -2.5, but that's fine. But
I will say,
the
though,
best-
I think that was the perfect strategy right there. And again, I know nothing about coaching or clock management or anything, but I do see something in, and I do this all the time playing my, college football games. But
General Booty.
when you're in the opponent's field goal range and there's, say, 5 minutes left, it doesn't really hurt you that much to give, like, if you do mess up and give them the ball, you're going to have enough time on the other end, however they score. If they happen to kick a field goal, you're tied, or you're maybe down 2, or if they kick a touchdown, or they get a touchdown, you can go down the field in a normal amount of time.
Yeah.
So
I meant that when we did the fake punt, if we didn't get it, Minnesota was already in range. Like that was so gutsy.
right, 100%.
Yeah,
But we
yeah,
still
yeah,
had like 4.5 or 5
Right.
minutes on the
True,
clock. So
true.
if they did kick
True.
right away, or we played up on defense, either
That's
way,
true.
neither here nor there. Very gutsy call.
I think the big brain play of it all was him knowing that he's on TV and mouthing punt. I think that's what it was. That's what got him off balance.
I saw that too when I saw he punt it. You saw it. You read his lips, and
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody was calling in, and I thought that too. I was like, "Whoa, okay."
I think was it Brad Nessler calling our game? I believe it was. It was on
Oh,
CBS.
And Gary.
Yeah, and they were
Gary
wrong on
Daniels.
literally everything they were saying. But
Well,
yeah.
no, credit to Brad Nessler because I was sitting kind of like I was like, where you like sit up from your seat a little bit, like, what's gonna happen? And he said something. He's like, well, Penn State here is coming out to punt, or at least show like they're gonna punt. And by the second he
Okay.
finished that sentence, guy took off. Shout out Luke
Well,
Reynolds.
It's every now and then they can have a good call. Most of the time they're like, I remember when we used to buy Reese's for a nickel.
Oh man, Gary Danielson, classic.
I can't his color commentary. Ugh.
Anyway, enough about our game. What else we got, Sammy?
A&M lost to Auburn.
That
Gross.
was a great game.
One of the more entertaining games for sure. But
And we called it. We said it was fishy.
we said it was
Yes.
fishy. Also nailed the fact that, or we didn't nail it. Vegas nailed that spread perfectly.
Yeah.
They won
We
literally
weren't
by
gutsy
2,
enough
and
to
it was
do
a
it,
2.5
but-
points.
Yeah. Well, BYU keeps losing. Something needs to be done about these preemptive field stormings. It's a little overdone now.
What happened there? They came out they came out the last second.
And then
but
Oklahoma, yeah.
Oklahoma came out 30 seconds before the game was over.
I was thinking about that. I think since we're talking about student athletes still, if they preemptively storm the field and they need to replay, the other team, BYU, picks a fan and they have to suit up and play the last play. And they just can block them, hit them, whatever. I think that'd be really fun.
That's one way to handle it for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Also,
I thought you were going to go with something like, BYU automatically gets the first down at like their, 1st and 10 at the goal line or something. But you're like, no, kill the fan.
Well, maybe he would like it. Maybe he was like, hey, I'm out here.
Do you see the guy in the what was the other game? Or who was the one that came down? Oh, the Arizona State game. He hit in the medical tent.
Yeah.
Way to use the unseen turf.
The Cal equipment manager. The guy tried to steal the helmet and he ran him down. I mean, Did you see that? He was
manager up for the team. He ran like a 2-second 40 there.
Yeah, that split was nice.
Oh man. Well, yeah, no, I agree. There needs to be. I mean, I feel like back in our day, maybe we're just the old legends of the game here at our early 30s now. But I feel like there was never any preemptive storming, and now we have 2 in the same day. It's like, get it together.
I 1,000,000% agree, but you can't go from me making fun of Gary Danielson and for making old comments and then just say back in our day. So we need to watch that transition.
That's a very fair point, actually. Good call.
And then I think the only one that I had, it's not even worth saying, but I'm going to say it, is the Florida State finally won a game.
And they
I
scored
hate it so
points.
much. This was bullshit. They another shout out to Vegas though. Florida State not scored over 21 points all season long. And then they said Florida State minus 33.5. And you
It's
know
all
how much they won by? 34.
Yep. And I think Vegas is behind all of the social media push of that stat because you were seeing that everywhere. And then
It's a fair
now
point.
they
The more
do.
you hear about it, I don't know. I should have been more aware of that. But that was.
Is there a possibility that Florida State even saw that stat and they're like, okay, we got to get it going?
I think so because
No.
that's the first time all year they played good on both offense and defense.
Yeah, they were playing 1-9 Charleston Southern, guys.
I'm aware that Charleston Southern is not a very
We
good
need
team,
to
but you know who
analyze.
else was 1-10 or 1-9? Florida
The
State.
Arizona State fan would pass for 150 yards on them.
Speaking of a
Maybe
fan
more.
that passed for a lot of yards, did you see that? Was it Southern Illinois kid that got called off the sidelines as a grad assistant?
Bobby
Yes.
Boucher.
Was that
And
his name?
Yeah, they won like 62-0 on senior night. What a dream.
Imagine being like, not only is this my senior night, it's also the first time I've played a college football game. A lot of good storylines, but I think it's hard to say. But this upcoming week may be the most chaotic of them all, huh?
Great chaos, and it's starting not even on Thanksgiving or after Thanksgiving. It's starting before Thanksgiving. We have one game, a little teaser for the beautiful weekend of football. We got some American Conference football. Memphis at Tulane.
Sam, which day do you think Thanksgiving is this week?
It is Thursday.
You know when Tulane plays Memphis?
You said Thanksgiving Eve. Or is it
Don't
Thanksgiving?
look at my notes, though. Don't get mad at me.
Is it Thanksgiving?
This is 100% on Thanksgiving. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
Don't get mad at me.
Well,
That's 100% hand up my fault. I did type in Thanksgiving Eve on the...
technically,
Now I want to verify that all the rest of the schedule is correct.
Thanksgiving is whenever you want Thanksgiving. So
That's very true. No, I tried to get cocky there and I was quickly stepped on. You were right. It is on Thanksgiving, and you were setting it up correctly as well.
okay. Well, Thanksgiving, we have Memphis at Tulane, 14.5-point favorites. Tulane is already in the conference championship. And then are they playing Army in that? Do we know?
It has to be Army. There must be some sort of tiebreak where I think somebody else could sneak. No, everybody else has. The next goes is Navy with, or I guess if Memphis wins, I think they may take the spot.
Oh, wow.
So if Tulane wins this game, they're in. If Memphis wins this game, I believe that they get the spot, and I think Army is the one that's locked in. Unless Army loses to UTSA, then we must have like a 1 in 250 scenario.
I think Memphis keeps this closer. You know, I think I would lean them covering the spread. They were the favorite to start the year in the American. They have some talent. I think I think they can keep it close. And did you say it was at Memphis?
Tulane, I believe.
At Tulane. Yeah, but I'd still lean them to cover. I think they can keep it close here.
I think I definitely agree on covering because, again, I think the winner of this definitely locks in going to the conference championship. I think, though, there's an outside chance if Tulane wins this game, makes conference championship, wins that game, they could sneak their way into the playoff, which I feel like not a lot of people are paying attention to. They would need to, I believe, probably outrank Boise State. But I don't know. We'll see how Boise's next couple games look like. I know they have a pretty easy one coming up against Oregon State, but I don't know. There's a 5% chance Tulane is the American, or at least I guess non-Power 4 representative.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I think 2 touchdowns is just a little bit too much. I do think Tulane wins the game. I think that's a pretty safe call. But um, fun fact: Tulane's defense is number 1 in the country in terms of allowing or like their third and fourth down success rate. So they stop people and force punts more frequently than anyone else in the country. And I think that will be. I don't know if they cover. I think that could be the deciding factor. So we'll see.
I agree. I may take the over for fun because those late season games in the American, especially a Tulane Memphis game, those are always just like certified gems. Those are always fun to watch, and it's kind of nice that it's put on Thanksgiving Eve. I know there, and this is what I meant. This is because I just said it out loud. Thanksgiving evening, like the after
the eve of the next day.
To relax a little bit. Yes, it's the eve of the day of Thanksgiving. That's my burrowing the way out of it there. It is Thanksgiving evening, and to that point, I think that's a fun little game to put on in the background. I think there's probably a good NFL game going on too. I think that's like the Dolphins Packers. But if you want more chaos and scoring, go Memphis Tulane.
For some reason, this is a complete side note. For some reason, night Thanksgiving NFL just doesn't hit the same as noon and 2 or whatever it is. Like those are the 2 games that everyone
you're
watches.
sleeping at that point. You've eaten all day.
Well, that's when you start passing out too. The 8 o'clock matchup. You're like, okay,
that's when you put on college football.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, guys, because this has long been a point in my family's contention, or at least my contention with my family. It's so odd to me that Thanksgiving dinner happens at like 2 p.m. You never eat a single meal the rest of the year at like 2 o'clock. You're either eating a way too late lunch or just an unheard of early dinner. Why is Thanksgiving get this pass as like, you know what? 2 o'clock, ready to go. Is that about the same for you guys, or do you have more normal?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, like 2 or 3. And
yeah,
I would even take that even a step farther is like, why do we only eat these foods one time a year? And just everything's off. It's a completely different dimension.
Then you show up to work on like a random Monday in July and you're like, I got a turkey and stuffing.
Well, what are you making on Tuesday night?
Just some yams.
I mean, I do love the absolute, true American pride of it all. I'm going to eat until I pass out. It's that and the 4th of July, to be honest with you.
It is interesting, though, because, like you go out to restaurants and they give you a sweet potato. We're on a tangent right now, and I love it. But they give you the sweet potatoes, and you can put all this stuff. But it's only one time a year where it's just totally acceptable to absolutely load up sweet potatoes with marshmallows. Like, why can't we do that in April?
You can, but you'll get judged severely. Yeah, that's
right.
Only on Thanksgiving, they're like, do that. You know what? And enjoy the holiday.
Make some posts like Gary Danielson would and just say like, hey, sweet potato casserole Tuesday night. It's May 22nd. And then everyone's just be like, what weirdos.
I don't know. I think it's just, I guess it's just, it comes down to tradition, but I think every family in America does that kind of like 2 to 3 o'clock window.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of just speaks to, hey, you want to keep cramming it in and keep going until you pass out? Start now.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You want to be hungry because you cook all this food. And then that gives you time for leftovers, all later throughout the day. So you can just eat. I mean, that's what the American way, pig
But
out.
also, do leftovers qualify as leftovers when it's still the same day?
Just seconds or tenths.
If you pull it out of the fridge and warm it up, it's leftovers.
That's a very good distinction. I like that philosophy. But if it's still like sitting in a tray,
what if you don't have a fridge
on the counter? That's not leftovers. What did you say, Sam?
Sam just said, "What if you don't have a fridge?" I think he wanted to kill it.
Oh man. Well, anyway.
Close the door.
Anyways,
back to football.
Right. Let's go to Friday football.
Passed out Tulane, Memphis. Check it out.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're moving on to Friday, Black Friday. We're kicking it off with Big 12.
Great slate.
Great slate. This is sort of getting the ball rolling of the potential 8-way tie in the conference. So first off here, Colorado does have to win to stay in the race. However, they are facing a team that started 3-0 and they are now 3-8 in the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. So this is looking ahead. I mean, this game has points written all over it, in my opinion. But Maku, what do you like here?
It has points written all over it in Vegas's opinion as well. I think the total is 65.5. I agree with you. I think this is a game that Oklahoma State is a lesser version of Kansas, I think, to the point that they should not at all have this bad of a record. They lost by 3 to Utah. That was their first loss of the year. They kind of got killed by Kansas State. Dropped a doozy of a game against West Virginia, which they never had no reason to lose. But the rest have been kind of competitive. They lost to BYU by 3, Baylor by 10, Arizona State kind of took it to them. Yeah, they're not a very good team, obviously. Mike Gundy has some work.
Mike walked through that.
Again, that's why I said Kansas light. Kansas lost all their games by like 1 score. Oklahoma State lost like half of their losses by like half their losses could have been wins. So they could very well be like a 6-6 kind of team. They're not. But I think they kind of step up, and I think a lot of teams want to give Coach Prime in Colorado their best shot. And especially going out, you have nothing to play for other than pride at this point. So in that situation, I almost say give me the points.
Just like, actually, they're really just getting blown out.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of games they haven't really shown up for. But I also don't think Colorado, but on the other hand, Colorado has a lot to play for. They have the style points to go for. They got Travis Hunter's Heisman campaign to maintain. So they're going to keep on scoring as much as they can. I just didn't like how much of Colorado's defense did not get off the bus for Kansas. I think that's why I'm talking high on Oklahoma State covering.
You know that the Drake meme where he's pointing and sort of just like, yeah, this, not that, or something like that?
Yes.
We need to get our social media team on a meme, and it's Kansas pointing to sweet potato casserole in November and Oklahoma State pointing to it all other times of the year because they're not the same.
It sounds very chaotic, but
that
I'll
was like the most layered meme of all time.
We'll get to work.
Chris, I'll hit up our social media team after this. Sam, make that.
Get on that. Yes. I don't have a take. I don't know.
Thank you.
Threw a lot of info at you. Do with it what you will.
Point.
Yeah, points. Looking forward to it. We have more on Friday. Let's see, which one do we want to go with? I feel like quick one for the Egg Bowl. Does Ole Miss try? Do they get motivated and try and just either take out their frustration on their rival, or do they keep it within 4 touchdowns?
Chris?
I think, I don't know, 4 touchdowns is a lot for a conference game and a rivalry. It's one of those things. I don't see Mississippi State keeping it within 2 touchdowns or even maybe 3, but I'm also kind of scared that, I'm not confident. I think they could easily not cover this in a boring 24-point win. So I don't really feel either side on here. I think, if anything, they may come out slow from the letdown, and then they may wake up after half and then, oh yeah, we're playing Mississippi State, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my take. But Ole Miss, I was thinking the same thing. What do they really have to play for? But I'm sure they hate Mississippi State, so they'll want that Egg Bowl trophy.
I have a take that I think that Ole Miss has a lot, obviously, still to play for, because if they lose this game, obviously everything's over. If they win this game, they could still have a little bit of a conversation going around. To that point, they need to win this game by a ton, which I think is the reason that spread's that high. I think that Mississippi State's been kind of a little bit of an upstart. They're not winning many games, but they're showing some fight. I think they had the Georgia game a couple weeks ago that they were never fully out of it. And again, they're not nearly the same caliber as Georgia, but they battled within 10 points for a good majority of it. I think that's exactly how they play this game against Ole Miss. I think they would love to fully squash their ultimate rival season. And I think that I would love to kind of take those points. But again, as I just said, Ole Miss needs to cover by quite a bit for the style points. So just give me the over. I think that's a very similar, safety valve out of this is that Mississippi State's going to score probably 20 to 24, trying their best to take their rival down. And I think Ole Miss, on the other hand, is trying to beat them up. So they're going to score 42.
Yeah, I think Lane Kiffin doesn't care about anyone's feelings. I think he'll try and score 70 if he can.
If he has the ability, he's going to. And Jackson Dart needs a lot of making up to do after that ending of his last game. So he needs to put on a show.
Do you think Ole Miss can still get in?
They have like a 1% chance.
Yeah,
they would need utter chaos everywhere. It's like
I think. I mean, right now they're in a pretty similar boat to Alabama, where they're both 3-loss SEC schools, and Alabama has better wins. And I don't know about that actually, because Ole Miss beat Georgia, but
didn't Bama beat Georgia too?
Right, but I don't know. I think
everybody's beating Georgia.
Speaking of which, do the Yellow Jackets of Atlanta beat Georgia?
No.
Next question. Wouldn't put it past him. I don't know. That's why this is one of my favorite weeks of the year, because you have not only you have everything to play for the favorite teams you need to show off, and for the underdogs you want to take down, because it's usually always a rivalry. And you want to, spit in the face of your opponent and be like, hey, we're the reason you don't have a shot anymore. So that applies to the Mississippi State Ole Miss game, Georgia Tech, Georgia, and Michigan, Ohio State. I all had circled as very much huge underdogs, but I may just take a couple of those and roll them together in a little round robin and see who can knock off their opponent.
I mean, Georgia Tech, they've shown more fight this year, and to your point,
team. They have not many people talking about them, but they're a very solid. I don't even know what the record is: 7-5, 8-4.
Yeah,
something like that.
Everyone thought they were going to be 10-2 after they beat Florida State in week 0, and we know how that turned out. But
exactly.
But I mean, it's interesting, like you said, these rivalry games, especially with the quote unquote, big brother, and Georgia likes to bully Georgia Tech and really keep them down. Georgia Tech's got a little fight this year, and Georgia, I mean, these favorites, it's all about the buildup of their team. They can either show out and put up a ton of points, or the pressure gets to them and they lay a dud.
Couldn't agree more.
I think that's it for Friday. We do have Ashton Genty on Friday night, so that'll be a little. I assume it's a late night little treat there.
Probably. Oh wait, no, they're playing at noon, which must be what, 9 a.m. where they are.
Where? Who are they playing?
Oregon State and Boise. You're just
playing at noon Eastern. So I may take Oregon State with the points.
Under. No one's going to be playing.
Dud against Wyoming. They were at risk of losing that one.
At Laradice?
Laramie?
Yeah, what? I think they played at Wyoming, and they only won by 4, 17-13, I think.
Yeah.
I did turn on the TV at a perfect time. I was like, let's see how Ashton Genty's doing. And the second I switched the channel, he was 10 yards into a 60-yard touchdown. But then he got hurt and wasn't quite the same. So I don't know. I think hot take Oregon State plus the points. That's way too early into the game. Genty's a little bashed up, and Boise has all the pressure in the world to beat him. So too much pressure for him. Watch out.
I like that. Well, moving on to Saturday, first game we got here is Michigan at Ohio State. Obviously, there's some implications even for us here. We might have a little bit of a rooting factor for Michigan if we want to be in the Big Ten championship. I don't even know if I want to be, but spread here is 21 points and then 42 total. So whatever that math is what they're thinking. So what are we thinking here? What are we thinking it's gonna turn out to be for this, I assume, big noon game?
It's gotta be, right?
Great question. I think I think Chris should start it off here.
So first thoughts when this line opened up last week, this is one of those they keep the line going throughout the year. Last week it was like 23.5, 24 points. So it's gone down. So that, I think with the low scoring game, the rivalry, obviously Vegas thinks Michigan's going to keep it a little closer. I never really know how to read this game because they're obviously bitter, hated rivals. It's always lower scoring. You don't see a shootout. I think, especially with Michigan's offense not being not being impressive. I'm still kind of leaning the under. Honestly, I think Michigan will show up to play. They still have a very solid defense. Ohio State did get a few things clicking, but they also had some special teams freebie points, if you will, last week against Indiana. So not all of those points were their offense. So I'm still not totally sold on Ohio State's offense. So I'm kind of leaning an under here. I think it's just going to be at least ugly for a little bit, and I feel like Ohio State will eventually really get it clicking and get to that 3 touchdown number, but I don't know when that'll be. So I'm leaning under.
I have a similar take that I pretty much agree wholeheartedly with what you said, Chris. I don't know if I'm going to fully trust the under. The only thing I'm going to say is that if this game was in a vacuum and no other games ever existed, I think it'd be very close. I think Michigan's coming off that pretty impressive performance against, obviously, Northwestern, so take that as much as you will. But you have to consider Ryan Day's career and how much Michigan has just embarrassed Ohio State over the last 3 seasons. And before that run, Ohio State was on a dominant tear for 10 years pretty much, and Michigan's now 3-0 in the last 3 seasons. Has Ryan Day ever beaten Michigan? Is that the big storyline? He's never beaten them?
I think he had to have beaten them early on.
Yeah, when the team that was accused to him from
right, and when Michigan wasn't as good.
And then I think Michigan opted out of the 2020 game. Anyway, point being, they're 0-3 in the last 3 years, and everybody in Ohio State's program needs to beat them and beat them soundly. And if you stay anywhere within that 21 point mark, obviously, again, if they win by exactly 21, like 42-21, they'll be very happy. I think they're going to go out of their way to punish them and destroy them. So, and again, I just do not trust the quarterback play, the running back play to most extents. Defense is always solid, but I think Ohio State's going to find a way to cover that number, cover it early, and pile on.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think.
Thanks, man.
I think Ohio State can make this one ugly, especially at home. I need the little red sirens. New stat alert is Echo rate. And Echo rate.
Should I make up a new acronym for this?
What is it?
Echo rate is how often.
ECKEL.
Yes.
Expected completion. Elevated lights.
I assume it's just someone's name, but it's basically the rate of your drives that are either like a big play touchdown or you get a first down within like the opponent's 40. So basically like how effective each of your drives are on offense or on defense. Offensively, Ohio State has a top 10 echo rate, so they're moving the ball consistently on offense. And then Michigan, they're 104th in the country in allowed echo rate. So I think Ohio State's just going to move the ball at will. I think that's going to be the call out.
I am looking at the screen here with Mr. Eccles' numbers that he just makes up, apparently.
Bud Davis is like, who is this?
I'm looking strictly at the top, like the third one down, echo rate, whatever it is. Ohio State, good for them, number 9 at 31.4%. Michigan, 34.5%. So literally 3% of differentiation, and they are 104 places in the other group.
That's the top one is Michigan's offense versus Ohio State's defense. So
you're saying Ohio State's 9 versus Michigan State's 104?
Right, on both offense. Yeah.
I got you. It's 116.
Yeah, so like Michigan's offense has a good drive a third of the time.
Ohio State minus whatever. Ohio State minus 50.
I just can't get over when you did the red siren news stat alert. If I'm just being honest, the only thing that I keep thinking about is the scene from
Vic?
the scene from the other guys, and he's just like, Arnie Palmies, who wants some Arnie Palmies?
Uh,
What
Arnold
is
Palmer alert!
RROE though,
Palmer alert!
Sammy?
I looked at that one as well.
Because
It
Ohio
is
State sucks at it.
it is rush rate over expected, so
Well,
it's
their
basically
expected
like
is like tremendous, so I'm sure
right,
that's fine.
right. So I
Because I
don't.
saw
I think it's
Quinshon
I think it's kind of a
Judkins
stupid stat, but
in the college football trailer getting spin moves all over everybody.
right.
Anyway,
All
all
right.
right, that's enough about that one. We're not happy with either team, but I'm pretty sure Ohio State destroys.
Thank you, Senor Eckel. All right, next one. There's a lot of games, so I'm gonna sort of call out which I think might be worth talking about. I think the next one should be Texas and Texas A&M, maybe. Unless there's another one y'all want to talk about. There's always the Iron Bowl.
We got quite a few. Let's just do A&M. Yeah, Texas.
A&M and Texas. Texas is traveling to College Station as 6-point favorites. 48.5 is that total. A&M obviously coming off that loss against Auburn, kind of ruining their chances at anything, or at least anything postseason, like
Anything.
playoff wise. But what do we like here? 6 is kind of a weird line. It's not a touchdown, but it's not a field goal. That's how scoring works.
I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I'm kind of going with the under here, just thinking these rivalry games. I'd be curious to see how these rivalry matchups go historically, like if there's a certain trend on unders and overs, because I don't know, I'm just getting the vibe this week of some bitter, especially with Texas A&M, and they're hosting them. They're ready for this game since Texas. They haven't played Texas in a while, so I think it's going to be close. It's great to see this matchup back. I'm looking forward to seeing this one, but I agree with you. I think it's just a weird spread line. I'm leaning under.
Because when's the last time they played this game? It's been quite some time, right?
The last time they played, Justin Tucker hit the walk-off field goal for Texas.
Wow.
So it's been a while. 2011.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I learned that on Monday Night Football last night.
That's a fun fact.
Look at A&M, though, double dipping. They had the last home game, and they get the first one back after a 13-year layoff. Pretty cool. No, I just had to catch up on the history there. I'm going to probably just buy up the points maybe and make it a full 7.5, and take the points with A&M. I think this game could go pretty much a carbon copy of how their Auburn matchup just went, where A&M unfortunately came on the wrong side of that, but they showed a lot of battle to it. They got down 21-0 early. Everybody's like, ha, the Aggies are done. See you later. And then they came all the way back. They were winning the game. They had like a 90% win chance percentage at the end. Obviously, Auburn ended up winning in quadruple overtime with the double 2 points and all that. But I think this game goes very, very similarly. But A&M has a couple things that I like on their side. Kyle Field at night, need to win to stay, keep the playoff hopes alive. So I think that if anything, they keep it within a touchdown. I think if they do lose, credit to Texas for shutting them down. I don't think Texas runs away with this by any stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I think Texas will do everything they can to win, and that's not like a call, like that's obvious. But I think they're not really in any risk. Like they don't need to. I think that this game gets them a bye in the playoff. I think that's really the only thing is at risk for them. Everything else is kind of set in stone in terms of conference championship and playoff involvement. So I like that. I think A&M will be mad after last week, especially at home. That's a great environment. So I like the vibes. Maybe like even like a first half money line, like maybe a little. They'll come out hot, and then Texas will come back in the second half.
Also, one of my favorite minor stats that's always fun to see on the ESPN schedule page. far and away the most expensive ticket price, probably of the entire year, $525 just to get in.
That's insane. I mean, I guess because like a quarter of the stadium
renewal
is
of a rivalry
students,
that hasn't been around. Yeah, but
nothing like Sanford Stadium. It's like 4,200 there, according to ESPN.
No, I did some digging on that one. So yeah, if you go to ESPN right now, you see the Georgia Tech at Georgia game, just at regular Sanford. It's not at the Georgia Dome or anything, or Mercedes-Benz.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets as low as $43, $42. And I clicked on that, and it took me to, that's if you want to like rent out a suite. It's $43, $42. You can get into that game for like probably $150, $200, somewhere in that ballpark. I think they went to like tickets as high as $4,300. So way off on that piece, but no, I think this one is actually true. The $500 to get into A&M.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking forward to that one. I think our only other ranked matchup between two ranked teams is Battle of South Carolina. I don't know if I assume they have like an official name for the rivalry, but the Gamecocks are traveling. What'd you say?
I don't know. I made something up.
Gamecocks are traveling to Clemson. Clemson is a 2.5 point favorite, and it's 49.5. South Carolina's coming on. Number 16 in the country. They're very underrated. And Clemson, they're obviously in the ACC championship. I think, right? I mean, it's between them, Miami, and someone else.
Yeah, if Miami and Clemson both win, Miami has the tiebreaker based off of like combined opponent's record or something like that. So Clemson needs help. Actually, I was looking into that over the weekend.
Who's the other team?
So wouldn't Clemson just play Miami?
Oh, SMU.
Oh yeah, forgot about them.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody is. So Clemson could go 10-2 with one loss in conference and not make it.
Wow. They almost may prefer that though, because then they don't have the additional game to play against a good opponent, and they could sneak in the back door.
Maybe.
It's a very good point.
They gotta win this game though.
Yeah, for sure.
I think if this game was in Columbia, I would be all over South Carolina. I think that they can keep up on every facet of the field with them. Is this a noon game? Do we know?
It's noon. It's at home for Clemson.
Yeah. What do we like here?
I don't know. It's a great line. This is a game I'll probably just not even touch and sit back and enjoy.
I'm gonna double down. I'm going under or triple down. I'm going under on this one too.
I don't think you've taken it over yet, Chris.
I know. I think maybe it's just the Thanksgiving talk. I'm just sort of ready for food, and I'm just thinking, maybe I should be a little more conservative here and maybe not eat as much, maybe not take as many overs. But that won't be fun.
I like the philosophy, but I don't know. I think
that won't happen.
I agree. I think I'm kind of taking fading the Gamecocks because I think they've been too hot lately, and this game is going to finally bring them back down to earth because they had obviously the huge win over A&M, which kind of put people back onto them. Dominated Vanderbilt when people thought it'd be close. It was very close, and they came out eking out a win against Missouri and then had a tune-up against Wofford. So I think they're riding a little bit too high. I think they're getting a little too head over their skis. I think Clemson, because it's at home, because it's a noon game, I think they bring them back down to earth. I'd say I guess I lay the points, but I don't know. I think this will just be a good competitive game.
Sam Screen disagrees.
I mean, look at that Eckel ratio. I mean, it's just...
Until you put a face to the name, I don't believe this Eckel guy from here to there.
Who is Eckel?
And I'm going to say it's gross.
Could be a good one, though.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. I'm excited for it. If I would lean, it would be South Carolina. I think they're just a little bit more complete, but I don't know. It's a toss-up. It's really a toss-up. It could go either way.
When you're within 3 points, you might as well just take the money line and hope for the best.
Right.
So I'd probably lean Clemson. I wouldn't oppose anybody that's taken South Carolina. I think they've been too successful. I think they eventually come back down to earth.
Right. Let's see. I know we got a ton more. Any other ones that you guys want to like make sure we shared?
Let's do the Iron Bowl because that's always going to be a classic, regardless of who plays.
Alrighty. Auburn is traveling
I mean,
to
like, who's ranked higher.
Right. To Tuscaloosa. 11.5-point favorites are Alabama, and that is 52.5. Bama obviously feeling down from that loss in Norman last week, and then Auburn perhaps feeling a little high. They're showing out a little bit the past couple weeks. So, like McCoo said, always a making for fireworks in this one. But Chris, what do we like here first?
Here is where I'll switch. I think there's going to be some fireworks here. What's the total?
52.
52. Give me that over. I think. Oh, your screen disagrees, but give me the over.
Echo probably made the screen.
I think Alabama comes out firing. They're at home. Obviously, if it doesn't go well, there'll probably be some boo birds out in the crowd because not only after last week, if they're struggling against Auburn, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. But I think they're going to show up to play. To McCoo's point, Auburn's playing well too, so I think they're going to be able to put up some points. That's 17. I think they could get into the low 20s. So, and then push Alabama, and I think it's just going to be a little higher pace than the experts think. So I'll take the over.
I'm on board with that. I think Auburn keeps it competitive enough because, again, like you said, they're flying pretty high. They were one of the grossest teams to watch in like the midseason, but they're coming back around. I think that last win over A&M was huge. I think they're who's not going to get up for this game on both sides. They're it doesn't matter if they're both 10-0 or 11-0 or if they're both 0-11. They're still going to go all out for this one. So I think Auburn's going to probably put up 20-24. And I think that there's no chance Jalen Milroe throws 2 back-to-back absolute duds of all time. And Kalen DeBoer has some questions to answer, and they cannot go out. Sammy, this feels like a team total kind of game. If you're talking Bama for me, I think that they are guaranteed to score like 28 to 31 points.
I like that. That makes complete sense to me.
Now the line could realistically be like 36, and I could be way off. But I'm just saying, like, if you find me
it'll probably be 30 points.
Yeah, if you find me Bama score 28, I'm hammering that all day. I think it'll be competitive for a little bit. I think Bama needs to score. Because, again, I think this has been my philosophy. I've said it on this podcast 1,000 times that a decently coached team, or at least a name brand program like a Bama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, like whoever you want to throw in there, when you're coming off such a disappointing loss and such like a gut-wrenching, like how did that happen? You can't let that happen 2 games in a row. And if Alabama loses this game to Auburn, that's kind of happening 2 games in a row, and Kalen DeBoer might be fired before finishing 1 season.
It is 31.5.
But hey, we nailed it. That's pretty darn close.
Yeah. Not that it will matter, but one thing to keep in mind for the Auburn side is they are 5-6. So if they win this game, they get to go to a bowl game. Maybe a little bit of extra motivation, at least just to cover. I don't think I don't know. Anything can happen in the Iron Bowl, but I'm honestly surprised that they're 5-6. I thought they were kind of worse. So
I'm with you.
Well, cool. I know last one that I had, it was actually a question from Mountain Jim.
Yes.
Is related to another in-state rivalry game this coming weekend is NC State traveling to UNC. What are our thoughts on Mac Brown still coaching at their last game of the year after being fired? I thought it was funny timing where there was a press conference yesterday. They were like, "Hey, Mac, you going to be here next year?" He goes, "Yes." And then the very next day he got fired. So,
like, nope.
We want 0 questions about this. The answer is no. You will not be.
So I don't know. I mean, this. Do we think UNC will? I mean, they got blown out by BC last week. So both of these teams are kind of in a low right now. But what do we think?
Yeah, I was kind of on the BC Eagles last week as well. Didn't see that coming, but it's always a competitive game. We'll see what happens. Like you said, both these teams aren't playing that well right now. I think three and a half points. I think UNC is going to play pretty hard for him, so I would probably lean UNC.
I wonder what the total is, because I think this could be
55.
a shootout.
I agree.
55.
It's like 35.
Okay.
5-5, yeah.
35.
35. Like, damn it, no, I think it's a definite nice sign of respect to let Mac, coach his final game.
Definitely.
Because they're obviously still going to make a bowl in some way, shape, or form. I wonder if they let him stick around for that, or if he even wants to. But clearly, the return to Chapel Hill did not really work out as much as he probably envisioned a few years ago. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they come out and definitely play very hard for him. It's at home for them, big rivalry. I think they cover that easily. And yeah, another game. This won't go the Oklahoma State route, I promise you. But the weirdest game of the entire year, I think we could still probably pinpoint, or at least top three, was that UNC James Madison game, 750 loss. And then that just put them in a spiral. They lost by 1 to Duke, lost by 10 to Pitt, lost by 7 to Georgia Tech, and then kind of found their footing again, won 3 straight until the BC game. So
Right.
I haven't paid super close attention to the Tar Heels, but there may be some injury concerns, or maybe some guys that are, getting a little more, soured out by the season. But I think they all show up and play one more hard game for Mac Brown. Book the cover.
Yeah, I hate to
Agreed.
go against the better half's alma mater, but there's a lot of motivation for UNC to win this game. Is one, Mac Brown, and 2, NC State needs to win this game to go to a bowl, and that's how disappointing their year has been. They were a dark horse playoff pick at the beginning of the season. So I think UNC has the chance here to ruin their. I mean, I put a fitting cap to their season. So wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah.
And I know we want to wrap up in a second because we're probably going long, but I do have one quick line that's very concerning.
Ooh.
Notre Dame is only -7.5 at USC, who we've all seen kind of fall off the table in the past month or so. Is this another A&M Auburn kind of thing where we should just look at that number and walk far, far away? Or is it, do you guys have any inside intel?
You go, Chris.
My thought, it's that way for a reason. So I'm done sort of fighting it. I think USC, I'm definitely not going to take Notre Dame. That's all I know. Yeah, I may stay away, but I'm not going to take Notre Dame. And they've been blowing people out, but we'll see. But I think it's that way for a reason. I
couldn't agree more. I think they're kind of exactly what we said about Auburn last week, is that one team is so much better on paper than the other. Why is this number so close? So
right.
I think it's definitely this is the stay away, like a 1,000 feet keep back due to emergency kind of line.
Yep. I agree.
Even though Notre Dame leads the country in Eckel ratio, but
Eckel's just some Notre Dame fan making up numbers in his backyard shed.
Well,
I
figured one thing we could call out before we wrap up is I think we'll do this consistently next year and maybe keep a standings, but one upset pick, let's say it has to be a touchdown or more, is the spread. Would love to hear what y'all have.
How much time we have left. May I go first?
You very well can.
All right. I hate this team for the longest part of the season because I was so high on them coming into the season. They dropped the ball left and right, and now they're coming in against one of the hottest teams in America, both literally and figuratively. I like Arizona plus 9.5 over Arizona State. They get the game at home, and as I've often said, weird things happen in the desert. That feels like, Arizona State's season comes crashing down right when they need to capitalize.
Yep.
I like that pick.
Mine, I'll keep it quick. Texas San Antonio at Army. They're plus 7.5. I think they've won 4 out of their last 5. Army, what if we see a letdown like we saw after Navy? They got drubbed by Notre Dame, then they sort of had a lull. What if something was exposed there? And UTSA, they're playing a lot better like people thought they could at the beginning of the year. Like I said, 4 out of 5. Watch the Roadrunners. Meet.
I love it.
And my last one, in-state rival. I'm going to pick Vandy over Tennessee.
I like it. Wait, money line or just the spread?
Both.
Both. Give me both.
10.5 points. I think Diego Pavia has another trick up its
magical
sleeve.
gem in him.
Yeah,
He's been quiet
That's
for these
amazing.
last couple weeks. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. He's getting his legal troubles settled, and then now he's gonna be pumped.
I love it.
Amazing.
It's been probably a month since anybody really got that amped up about Vandy. They're going to put themselves right back on the map.
Absolutely. Well, great episode, boys, and hope everyone listening, including Chris and McCoo here, have a great Thanksgiving. And
What about Mountain Jim? We need more cool nicknames channeling into us here.
yeah, we need
Yes.
we need all the cool nicknames. So yeah, shout out
Everybody
and
keep the questions coming.
Yup.
absolutely. Well, have a good Thanksgiving, some time off work, and
Your
time to just
2:30
be
p.m. meals and enjoy them.
time to just be fiends on couches.
So we do best.
Happy
bud.
Thanksgiving, everybody.